Hello, and welcome to my third video. Trying to get all of this figured out and make it a little cleaner process. I so appreciate you joining me for these videos, and I hope they're entertaining and a little bit enlightening, and they give you kind of an idea of what my childhood was like. This is mostly for my family and friends who love me and care about me and are interested in those kind of things. I will speak that in my first video I had greater ambitions, I think, and probably too large of ambitions for what I was able to do. I think that what I'm going to do now is break down some of my stories into more individual pieces and parts, rather than trying to take everything that goes in my childhood. So hopefully we're going to talk a little bit about this. I'll try to give you the context of when in my life it was, and we can go from there. I will also say a caveat: some of my stories are a little bit mischievous, and to my grandchildren who are watching this and thinking it's cool to be mischievous, it is. It's very cool to be mischievous, and it's cool to teach your parents lessons. And in fact, that's what we did today. And you should never do this unless your parents really need a lesson. So today I want to talk about a little lesson that we taught my Aunt Kathy when I was really young. To set this up, I want to tell you how much I believe in divine intervention and in the fact that I was placed with a family who loved and cared deeply about me and who took such good care of me. I was loved even in my struggles, even in my difficulties, still loved, still cared for, and always given an opportunity to at least redeem myself, if not do more than that. This loving, kind home helped me feel safe, even when I was mischievous, even when I was a little bit misbehaving. And so to illustrate this, I talked about the canyon and how everybody accepted and loved me when I got back. This story, certainly I felt loved and accepted when I returned home. But the rest of the family gave me a little bit of a hard time, as I likely deserved. I always felt lucky to have the cousins I did. Our families were as close as possible given the distance we lived from each other. My Aunt Kathy lived in Lamar, Colorado. My Aunt Luann in Spanish Fork, Utah, or near Spanish Fork, Utah. I had an uncle who lived in Farmington, Utah, and then two other uncles who lived relatively close, Guy and Alan in Eastland and in Monticello. We were able to get together quite often for birthdays and for things like that, especially Christmas, Thanksgiving times, and spend some very quality time together. We also, on each summer, would get together for a couple of weeks. Everybody would come down. It was almost like a family reunion. We never called it that formally. And I spent a lot of time in the summers at both my Aunt Kathy and my Aunt Luann's, one in Lamar and one in Spanish Fork. And where I'm sure my mother hoped manners and cultures would rub off on me. I am sad to report they did not rub off on me, but that I did learn and love and enjoy those summers and staying with my aunts. I also stayed with my uncles as well, but the aunts were a little more memorable. All I got to do at my uncle's most of the time was work. So you went to Aunt Kathy or Aunt Lou's and you got to at least go to a water park or a swimming pool. You went to Uncle Alan or Uncle Guy's and, you got to haul pipe up a hill. So both great experiences, and that's something I wouldn't trade. I'm not so sure about the manners and cultures getting rubbed off, but I do know I felt loved, and I do know I felt valued. Even when I fought with my younger cousin Joni. Joni was the sister of David. They were twins, and Joni was my sister, my little sister Josie's friend. David and I hung out, and so that always created a bit of opportunity for conflict. One of the traditions of the Red Ants when they visited was to visit each family in the area, other family members, cousins, and the like. We also loved to go look at old houses. Sometimes they never would change, but they were there. On one of these trips, we were coming home from Cortez. Not a far trip, but far enough. My cousin David and I were allegedly teasing Joni and my sister Josie. We never did want to tease the youngest sister Sandra because she would fight back and she would bite you. So just stay away from Sandra, just treat her nice. My Aunt Kathy had had enough of David and I teasing Joni and Josie, and we pulled off the highway to inspect a field. She told David and me to get out and walk the rest of the way home. This was about 5 miles, and she claims she intended to turn right around and pick us up, allegedly, which we kind of knew that this was a bluff. However, knowing it was a bluff, we knew that this was an opportunity to teach Aunt Kathy a valuable lesson, a lesson on child and traffic safety, as well as the perils of hitchhiking. So to teach Aunt Kathy this lesson, once the Suburban was over the hill and out of sight, we ran over to an abandoned lean-to and hid. They went and inspected the field, turned around, came back down the road, and had intended to pick us up then. But they didn't see us because we were hidden in that lean-to. So they looked puzzled, and I assume they turned back around, went back down the road thinking we may have walked across the field to meet them or something. At that point, we were out of sight still. Once they went over the hill again, we made our way back over to the highway and we started to hitchhike. Just put our thumbs up, just like in the olden days. And we quickly got a ride and we were dropped off at our home 5 miles away, where, as any great teacher would do, we found a cold drink and sat in the living room waiting for our pupil, Aunt Kathy, to arrive home so we could greet her. And we would all have a good laugh over the wonderful lessons that we learned that day. Upon arrival, the troop didn't help us much when we described our ingenuity on getting home. Apparently, kids hitchhiking is not always the best idea. I also don't believe the lesson was as well received as we had hoped by Aunt Kathy. And that's due to the fact that we had to spend the rest of the day grounded in our bedrooms. That was quite the day. And as I said, they weren't quite as happy. But still, in the end, we all had a good laugh. And we learned that Joni was too easy to tease. We also learned that we could teach lessons as well. So that's one of the lessons that we taught our parents. And if any of my grandkids ever feel the need to do something similar to that, you have my fullest support. Thank you so much this afternoon for watching me, and I appreciate it. I hope to get more content out, and I hope you're enjoying it. Thank you. and goodbye.